Welcome back to today's episode of Jack Howard Color, the podcast. My guest today is Kate Dattillo from Connecticut, North America. Kate has been BTC winner for her cool balayage. She has a really interesting take on the way that she wants to work. With only 12 years in the industry, I can't wait for you to listen to this one. So welcome back to another episode of Jack Howard Color, the podcast. Today's guest is, she's amazing. I've only just met her recently. I met her at the BTC show, so I had to get her on. She's a BTC winner. Her name is Kate Dattillo. And Kate, you've been hairdressing for only 12 years, right? So it's not long to have done so well. You've won BTC, for your cool balayage. So congratulations on that. That's fantastic. And I was there with you when you won it, and you were just like, oh my God, it was brilliant. It was a classic moment. But
it's an
also
honor to be here.
Oh, no, it's brilliant. And I really want to hear your story. But you're a BTC team influencer, I've got down here. You've been featured in American Salon, Beauty Launchpad, Modern Salon, and Behind the Chair. But they're big. That's big achievements. You're a product club ambassador and a trust professional brand specialist. Now, I want to talk about all of that and all those achievements, because I just think that's, you know, for somebody that's been hairdressing 12 years, it's massive to me. So well done on that. But what I wanted to know, Kate, first of all, where are you? You're in Connecticut, yeah?
So I work in Connecticut my whole career, and I recently, probably about almost 2 years, I moved to West Virginia, but I still work in Connecticut, which sounds crazy, right? I get that. Oh my gosh, how do you make that work? So I'm currently in West Virginia.
You're in West Virginia, so you're near me, right? Because I'm in DC, right? So are you flying or driving?
I used to fly before, everything started happening. But I've been driving.
Wow.
Yeah, I drive, cool. But my schedule, it's great. I only work about 10 to 12 days behind the chair. And then I have 3.5 weeks off where I can focus on content, social media, that sort of thing, my personal life. And then, I continue that cycle. I go back and forth, and it's honestly the best thing for me. And it's been working. I don't know how. I ask myself every day, but it's great.
Wow. I definitely want to talk about that in a moment, because to have that kind of diversity so early on and to really be focused on the content is a whole conversation in itself. How did hairdressing start for you?
So I went to a technical high school where you had 2 weeks of normal class. I call it normal, English, math, history. And then you had 2 weeks, 2 weeks of a shop. And your freshman year, you go through what's called exploratory, and you go through every shop they offer. So it was automotive, auto body, electrical, plumbing, hairdressing, nursing, everything you could think of. And at the end, you had to pick your top three. My top three were graphic design, hairdressing, and nursing. And my parents wanted me to be a nurse really bad. So I had to rate my top three. So I did nursing, hairdressing, then graphic design. Well, of course, I got into the nursing program, and I was devastated. I had to stay in that program for 3 months, and I would come home crying every day to my parents. I don't want to do this. This isn't who I am. This is horrible. I really want to be a hairdresser. I was like an artist, and a rebel. I always tried to do the exact opposite of what anybody told me, especially my parents. And I feel like I'm still that way to this day, but I'm a rule breaker for sure. But so I would come home crying every day, and they were like, fine. If you really want to be a hairdresser, you have to go to the principal in the school and tell them and this and that. And they were like, you're never going to amount to anything if you're a hairdresser. They just wanted to scare me, really, because they wanted me to have like the security of being a nurse, right? Which is great. But that wasn't for me. So long story short, I ended up switching to hairdressing. And I think in that time, they didn't really know the potential of what we could do. And I mean, I didn't either. I had no idea. I just thought it was going to be fun. It was the cool girls were in that shop, you know. And fast forward, I graduated at 17. I got my hairdressing license. And I think 2 days after I graduated high school with my license, I started working in a salon, knowing absolutely nothing. And I just kind of got thrown in there.
That's amazing. So in Connecticut, where you grew up, you can leave school at 17, which is unheard of these days, really, isn't it? It's normally 18.
Yeah, I think I started a little early, to be honest.
Ahead of the curve, right?
I mean, I think I could have maybe gone another year. I had a lot of like problems with regular school, I like to say. But I did really well in any form of art.
Right.
I feel like that was my strength. That's why I wanted to be a hairdresser, because it's art to me. But yeah, I mean, I was a baby. I didn't even have my license to drive a car, and I was a hairdresser.
Right. Okay. So you get your license, which in the US you have to do your hours, which you obviously did at technical school.
Yes.
You got your hours there, and so you're qualified. But we all know that you're not qualified. You got the license, right? I mean, the learning starts when you go into the salon. How did you pick a salon?
So I actually got hired at like my family hairdresser, the one place I went for my whole life. And she just kind of like, she told my mom, have her come in, we'll hire her. I mean, and I didn't even have a formal interview. I just started. I mean, I swept hair. I'd take walk-ins. I mean, I really had no idea what I was doing. And she just kind of threw me in there, which honestly was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because of course I made mistakes, but I learned a lot. You know, I learned a ton by just getting thrown in. And it was a small little like family town hairdresser. And I mean, I did every type of hair you could think of, men, children, you know, crazy vivids, blonding, all sorts of stuff. But balayage wasn't a thing then. That came later. But yeah, that's when I started.
And that was like 12 years ago, yeah?
Yeah. 12 years.
12 years ago, 12 years, wow, hey? And
I know,
Instagram.
I'm so new.
Instagram wasn't a thing at that point.
No, I think I started my Instagram, I think I was 2 years in. So I was on commission when I first started. I mean, I made like $100 a week when I first started, but I think I had like one client a week, you know, and I was slowly building. And then I was like, I'm not happy anymore. I kind of want to go off on my own. I kind of got forced into renting. So then I had an interview. Actually, my best friend, Caitlin, at the time, she owned this salon with another girl. She hired me, and then I rented for my whole career. And we kind of started our Instagrams together.
So let me take you back a little bit. So you say that you went to work for Caitlin, who's going to come on here at another point anyway. But and she's fantastic too. You two are so funny together. But you go working for her, but you were renting from her. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So, because it's really young I was talking about this with another guest, actually. It's really quite young to sort of go into that whole sphere of running your own business. But you weren't in a booth. You were actually in a suite. You were in a salon still.
Yeah, I was in a salon. Yep, both places were in a salon. And I didn't really know anything about renting. Nobody took me under their wing. I didn't really have much help. I kind of just said, all right, it's X amount of dollars a week. I think I could do that in services. I had a small clientele. And then when you move to a nicer place, you know, you obviously attract people, want to see where you go and stuff like that. So, I mean, I wasn't as busy when I first started, and that's why I kind of started an Instagram.
Right.
And I would post, you know, everything I did. And it kind of took off from there.
I haven't swilled back. I love this. It all seems to be a little bit kind of like, well, I wanted to do it, and this happened and this happened. And was there a conscious decision to go on Instagram for you?
Yeah, I think why I did it was because I used to paint and have a paint watercolor, and I had a portfolio, right? And I was like,
Right.
well, you know what? I kind of want to have a hair portfolio. I think that would be really cool. Like if I have Instagram, it's kind of like it's free advertisement, and I could post all my hair stuff, and I could just show people, hey, this is what I do. This is something you can get. And because I was kind of seeing a change where people wanted to actually see pictures. I hated taking out books and having them be like, oh, I want this haircut, and it was so outdated. I was trying to like stay with the times, but I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I didn't want to refer to old books, and so I kind of just went all in. I didn't really know anything.
You wanted to keep it modern, right? You wanted to be modern. And
yeah, but still artsy.
Still artsy. I mean, because Pinterest was a thing, wasn't it? I mean, Pinterest still is a thing, but Pinterest was definitely, people were coming in with Pinterest images that they were showing before they were showing Instagram, I thought.
Maybe you, but I feel like we were so behind in the times.
Really?
I don't know. I think maybe it was my location, but I just knew that I needed to do something more. So that's why I started the Instagram.
Right. And your Instagram
is a little behind though.
No, I think you're definitely, America is much more ahead than the UK. But your Instagram is incredibly well curated. Do you think that's your art background?
Maybe, yeah. I feel like I've always been pretty artistic, and I always want to be a little different than everybody else. I'm always trying to do something different, even if it's like a small little detail, like how I name my hair picks or something, I like being, I guess, would the word original be the right word or not? I don't know. I want to be different without being too standouty,
That's a hard one to navigate. Now, I noticed that as I stroll through, you do name them. You do have these little captions going to begin with, don't you? I mean, that in itself, the tumbleweed is one here, and it's beautiful. And then the pine cone. How long does that take you to figure all that out?
So I spend a lot of my free time in the outdoors, and I kind of wanted to incorporate that into my hair art. I wanted to kind of show a little bit of who I was with my art. I hike, I fish, I hunt, I spend so much time outside, and I just was like, you know what? I see so much beauty in the outdoors, and I'm like, I'll be sitting there thinking that's a great brunette shade, the pine cone, that looks like I'll start thinking stuff like that. I try to it's like full circle. Everything's related to hair for me, so that's kind of where I came up with that.
Live it and breathe it. I love that. So
yeah.
let's go back a little bit before all the good stuff starts. So you start renting a space at Caitlin's salon, and that's in the same town that you grew up in, yeah?
It was 10 minutes not even 10 minutes. It was probably 5 minutes down the road from the first salon. So Same town. So all my clients were like, oh, that's easy. Just go down the road,
And
that's why it wasn't scary.
What was the difference for you from going from one to the other? What do you think was the growth trajectory for you?
I think I was able to focus more on my craft, I think and I was surrounded by like-minded people. Caitlin has always been a huge inspiration for me, even if she's my best friend, but we've always worked so hard to better each other. And I just wanted to be around people who loved hairdressing and didn't just do it for a paycheck, Right. And I really wanted to prove everybody wrong. This was going to be my life. So I wanted to give it my all and I'm all about my environment. So if my environment if I don't have good energy or that sort of thing, I kind of start to shut down. So I wanted to change my environment. It was positive. It was really pretty, and everybody had a good attitude. So that was really important to me, why I switched.
Right. Because I think that if you don't have the good attitudes and you don't have the great environment, it's very difficult to produce beautiful work, I think, in that, because it becomes too stressful in other ways, doesn't it?
100,000,000%. And then like, if you have people who, they look at you and you're like, why are you taking pictures, or what, they'll question you and stuff like that, or they laugh at you because you want to, do more than them. It's just jealousy. And I just wanted to get away from that.
So as soon as you took on the move and you took on the gram, basically, and you realized that you had to take pictures and all that, which of course is, for somebody in your age group, that it's more natural to kind of do that because your friends are doing that. You're curating your life on social media anyway, because you've virtually grown up with it. And you found in the salon, because there are definitely conversations that go on in our industry about working in salons where people, take the mickey out of you. They laugh at you for photographing your work. They might make it difficult for you to build in time to take those images that are so important, because it's a brand, right? You're building a portfolio, as you spoke about. How did you navigate that? Because I would have thought that if you were doing this at that point, it was relatively early on in the era of Instagram, and I wouldn't have thought that necessarily all salons had embraced it, because they're still struggling with it now, aren't they? So a lot of salons still struggle with that.
Yeah. So when I feel like Instagram just started to get popular when I made my, so we kind of all were posting really similar pictures, because we didn't have the white backdrop. We didn't have any of that sort of thing. I took my pictures with an old crusty iPhone, so I think we all were kind of doing that. And when I moved, we kind of did it together. We were, finding the right ways to post, and we just encouraged each other. I just don't think the first place that I started, that they were super, encouraged to do that sort of thing, which was fine, but that's why my new salon, we were like, let's make an Instagram, let's do this. We shared everything and all of our information. And
so everyone was learning on the go together.
Yeah, for sure.
Which makes it more helpful, doesn't it? And more supportive.
Definitely. I used to follow, a few different people that they would post, and I'd be like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to do those sort of clients and have, their type of work on my page. And
how did you then navigate that? So how did you make that change happen for you? You go from one salon to the next. You're surrounded by some really great people that you enjoy hanging out with, and you're learning together. How did you start attracting the kind of work that you wanted to do?
I took as many classes as I possibly could. Okay. I educated myself. And I think that's really when it started, because I would take even just 10-person class, like, oh, I'm doing a hair class. And there was only 10 people there, and I didn't even know the girl, but we, Caitlin and I still went, or we went to, our sales rep would have different brands that would do, stage classes at the hair shows. We'd go to that, or I would spend money on classes like you wouldn't believe. And I really think that is what helped me, just learning even the smallest thing from people all around, the state and neighboring states. So that's kind of where it happened. I think education was huge.
And it's been something huge for you all the way through then, because you educate yourself now, but to begin with, you just embraced it and went straight for it, to go to classes and go to events and to watch and learn.
Definitely. And, there came a point where, fast forward just a few years ago, I was starting to get stagnant, and I'm like, what can I do to start gaining that fire back? And I was really struggling. And then the pandemic hit, and then it was just like, oh, well, it's all downhill from here, you know?
No, it's not. It wasn't. It wasn't.
It actually wasn't. It was the best thing that happened for me, which sounds crazy, but because I was starting to feel like, oh, there wasn't classes, and I took all the classes I could take, and I watched videos. I was just bored, you know? And I was like, what can I do? So once the pandemic happened, I didn't work for, you know, you didn't either. We all didn't. And I kind of just had to come to realization of what I needed for myself. And it really helped having that time off.
What do you think? So you're going to classes and you're obviously talented, but you were feeling like you were stagnating. What had happened for you in that? What had happened there?
I think I was just in this routine. I wasn't fulfilling my passion. Like I had a lot of services that I hate to even admit this, but I had a lot of services that I wasn't super thrilled to do.
Right.
I had a lot of clients who were very energy draining, and my environment started to change a little bit. Caitlin had left, and it was just kind of, I didn't really have like someone I could feed off of, you know, like I just started getting really stagnant. My clientele was really stagnant. I was booked out for months at a time. I was overworked, and I just I just was so resentful of the whole thing.
I think this is really,
I mean, it happens to a lot of us, I feel like.
Yeah, it does happen to a lot of people, and there's a lot of conversations on Instagram about all of this, and us as an industry not being able to say no, we don't want to do that, or you know that I don't need to take your energy on you. I'm not just a sounding board for you to come to and sort of do that. But you're obviously you were busy, right? So it was busy and you were booked out, which a lot of people think is the nirvana. They're going to be happy with that. Obviously, that's not the case for you. And also, you were doing services that you didn't like. Now, I think we all start off working in places having to seem to do everything, and you can't. A lot of places won't let you niche down. How did you get out of that at such a young age, right? Because I think the older people find it difficult to say no. But for a young person to say no, it's much more difficult.
I feel like I still have a hard time saying no, but I think going back to like when I wasn't working for 4 months, I really thought about, all right, what's important to me? My personal life had changed where I had moved here, and I just was like, I really have to make a change. Like something's got to give. I was gaining a lot of followers on Instagram, and I was getting a lot of new people wanting to book, and I just didn't have the time to take them. And I was getting services that I was really passionate about, like balayage, foliage, color melting, stuff like that. And once we were starting to get ready to go back to work, I was like, okay, now's my time to just literally hit the reset button, which is so horrible in a sense, thinking like, I feel bad. I always think about other people's feelings, but I was like, you know what? I really have to do what's best for me and my career. And I kind of wiped my whole book completely clean. And because we were only able to work part-time, so I started booking like the services that I wanted to do. And then I was going to have to continue to book some of the things I didn't want. And that's when I got an offer to move to where Caitlin was. And that really kind of was where I could really hit the reset button, because it was almost an hour away from my old salon. So I just started fresh. I wiped my books clean and was like, now or never.
Okay. Like, I love this, know? But how do you wipe your books clean? I'm sure there's lots of people listening that think, God, I'd really like to do that. I mean, my friend Amy, she wipes her books clean, camouflage and balayage. She did that. She often talks about that. How did you personally do that? What did you say to people? I mean, I don't want to do grey coverage anymore. I don't want to do traditional highlights. I don't want to do a perm.
I know.
I mean, how do you say I don't want to do that? How did you do it?
Some people, this is so terrible. Some people I just ghosted, which they were so rotten to me anyway. So I know that's terrible, but they were so mean to me half the time. So I'm like, you know what? Goodbye. But I just basically told them that, you know, I'm only able to work part-time and I'm really wanting to fill my books with, you know, stuff that I'm, you know, super passionate about, and I've educated myself. I just kind of, not that I like skirted around, but I just basically was like, you know, I'm looking to do different things, and I can recommend you to a stylist who might have more availability. And then I moved salons, and a lot of them didn't want to make the drive. So I would say by moving locations, I lost probably 70% of my clients.
Right.
Which I wanted. I wanted that. I was like, all right, time to start over. This is great. But it's hard. It's not a fun conversation to have with people, especially if you've been doing their hair for 12 years. It could be hurtful to them, you know?
Yes.
Like, oh, you don't want to do my hair anymore? But you kind of just have to tell them like that you're trying to, you know, do other things. And I still don't know how to navigate it, honestly.
Well, you seem to have navigated it quite well, and you've tried not to hurt anyone in it. I think that's the most important thing, right? What you wanted to do is shift gears in your career. Again,
but some people don't like that.
No.
And it's hard.
But we're not there to do work that we don't enjoy, right? I mean, you can't have a career of sitting there or standing there doing stuff that you don't like. I mean, that's hardly a great career, is it?
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, even like, I felt like I would think like, I haven't even had a raise in 10 years. You know what I mean? When I sat down and thought about it, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, this is just not what I thought. So I literally just hit the reset button. I think about it all the time. I have no idea. I guess I just trust the universe, and it kind of fell into place. Everything's laid out for me, and it was just the right road that I took.
So you think luck had a lot to play in it, or fate?
I think fate. I don't know if I really believe in luck, but I definitely think fate had a lot to do with it. You know, I think each place that each thing that we all experience, I think we're meant to experience, because it's whether we realize it in a year or 10 years. I think we all are supposed to be on certain roads, but it was my time to just move on, you know, and it just happened for me.
So we've come out of a pandemic, or well, we haven't really come out of it, have we? But we've opened up. And you're limited, like a lot of hairdressers, myself included, we were limited to the amount of days that we could do and the amount of clients that we could do by state regulations and government regulations, which is sort of unheard of for our industry. And you start whittling out the ones that you don't necessarily want to do. And you start doing more of the work that you want to do. So you're setting things in motion for you. In the pandemic, had you physically moved to West Virginia, or were you still in Connecticut?
So I moved because I met someone.
Yeah.
And I met them before the pandemic, and I only saw them once a month. And then once the shutdown, we were told we had to stop working. I think it was like St. Patrick's Day. And I told my parents, I'm like, I'm going down to West Virginia. See ya when I see ya. And I just packed my truck and I just went south, and I never left. So and my boyfriend, he's a business owner. He owns multiple companies, and I watched him work and how he has like an amazing work-life balance, and how just I learned so much from seeing what he does. And I was like, all right, I can do this. And I talked to him about it. I'm like, would you be, because I love my career, and I was like, would you be okay with me being a traveling hairdresser and working, and he totally supported it. So, yeah, that's kind of.
So you made the decision from there. So lots of us made career changes in the pandemic, especially in the really rough part of it. And so you made the decision to do so many days a week in Connecticut. So you wanted to keep the clientele that you wanted to keep from there. And you also you recognized that you could grow it.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you think that doing 12 days a month rather than doing 20, so it's half that time, isn't it? So it's about 2 weeks work, 2 weeks out of the month. How did you manage to sort of kind of communicate that to clients and build a business on that sort of method?
So right when we were getting ready to open up, I moved to a new salon. So like I said, I lost a lot of my clients, and then my new salon, they allowed me to work the 10 days straight. So like Monday to Sunday, and I just worked 10 days straight. And then I just told clients, this is what I have available. And I kind of just got them used to it. They just did it. I didn't really give them too much of my personal life status, and then they just got used to that schedule, and now they all know that I'm a traveler. But I didn't want to like freak them out in the beginning. They're like, oh, you're gonna never come back and stuff like that. So they just got used to what my schedule was, and they took the appointments I had available.
There's a huge conversation, again, on Instagram, where everything seems to be a conversation about the fact that we should be able to set these times and you say, this is my availability, and that, the rest of your time is your own time. You don't have to apologize for it. And so you're unapologetically saying, this is what I can do. This works for me. And you've made it work for yourself, which is an achievement.
Thank you. It was really hard. Because it's unconventional, and a lot of people, they don't like unconventional ways.
Yes.
Everybody will always have a comment, but I am so much of a better person, and I feel like I'm doing a lot better work by slowing down, only doing 3 clients a day, and able to have that time off to kind of decompress and just
hold on a minute.
out.
Let me take you back here. You're doing 3 clients a day. So let's talk about your work, because your work's beautiful. You do this whole lived-in feel. You do foliage, you do balayage, which you're known for now. You probably do other things as well. I'm sure you do. How long does it take you to do 1 client?
Typically 3 hours for a foliage or a balayage, and it's one-on-one. I don't have an assistant. It's me from start to finish. So typically 3 hours.
And 3 hours from the meeting and greeting them, putting it in, processing it, rinsing it, blow drying it, styling it, taking the picture. 3 hours.
3 hours to 3.5 hours if they have a ton of hair. And sometimes I'm about, I'd say 12 minutes late for my next client because I'm taking pictures.
Right. So
I'm like, that's a full quick picture.
It's a full day. I mean, that's 6 clients, right? At least 6 clients, because you do the color process, you've got the cut and blow dry or the blow dry. So that's 6. Mm-hmm. And you're not fitting anyone in between it.
No, I'm so happy not to double book anymore, because I would run around with my chicken like a chicken with my head cut off. Like I like a more intimate vibe. So I typically book like 10 to 1, and then 1 to 4, and then 4 to 7. That's usually the slots I try to fill. And unless I have, like, sometimes some people take me only 2.5 hours if they're just like a regular highlight and root smudge, or I do have a few gray retouches, but usually they always try to get something like a few paints painting around their face or something like that. But I typically just do color all day.
Right. I mean, but that's a full day. So it's not just 3 clients. It's three colors and cut and blow dries. It does actually make it sounds completely different. And do you think the people you attract, do they love the one-on-one, the intimacy of it, the being seen through the whole journey and nobody else there in their time?
I think so. I mean, if I think about what I would like, I would feel super rushed if there was like, okay, go sit over there. And then they were, I don't know. That's just, I like the more intimate feel, and you could charge more money for that.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. You could charge more money because you're giving them 100%. You know, when I did have an assistant in the salon, sometimes she'd, wash my client out if I wanted to mix their gloss, but or help me like rough blow dry if I was running behind. But it's usually just me, and that's kind of where I wanted to change my branding and all that, because ultimately I wanted to make more money, right? I wanted to have my dream clientele, and I wanted to have pretty hair I could post on Instagram,
Right. And do you have your dream clientele?
Yeah. I'm so blessed. I do. I definitely do. And now it's hard because I only work, 10 to 12 days, and I kind of have to turn people away now, where like I was able to take on new clients, and it's hard because I love to meet new people and I love to do new heads of hair. So it's like, now I'm at a point like, well, should I raise my prices so I can get more people in, or, so it's just a never ending cycle. But my clients are honestly the best. They're so good to me, and I'm just really lucky, for sure.
Not lucky. It sounds like you've worked really hard for it, to be honest. It sounds like you
I don't really believe,
I
lied. I don't believe in luck, but I am lucky.
Let's talk about some of the other roles that you have besides running your own business and setting it up the way in which works for you, which I think is really an important message, right? It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as it works for you and it works for what you want out of life. But we talked earlier in the intro, and we talked about so you're a BTC influencer. So is that the same as on the BTC team?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. When did that?
Yeah, I'm not.
Go on.
When did it happen? It happened during the shutdown.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that kind of was another big factor that pushed me to change my brand, because I was constantly on Instagram. I had nothing else to do, right? So I was constantly on Instagram and posting and doing how to curl your hair and all that sort of thing. And then I got, contacted, and they put me on the team. And that's when I was like, okay, time to shit or get off the pot. Like it was kind of like, all right, girl.
That's not PG-13, is it?
Sorry.
But it's
true.
How did that feel to be contacted by them, to be asked to be part of that team?
I damn near died.
Right.
I was like, are you sure you got the right girl? I'm like, me? But I told them, I was like, this is the sign I needed. I needed this sign, because we all go through those self-doubt, spurts. And I was going through that. I'm like, well, should I just quit hair? Like, I could just stay here and I could be a housewife. But that just wasn't me. So then they contacted me, and that really kind of changed my career, I think. As corny as that sounds, but it did.
I don't think it doesn't sound corny at all, because, of course, BTC is huge, right? So it has this huge influence on our industry and the people within our industry and how we see things. And so to be asked to be on that team is really cool. And it could be a highlight of a career for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And they're so good to everybody. And it's cool because they connect you with different brands that you might not have had the opportunity to work with, you know? So it's been really cool to try. I love to try new products. So it's been really great for me to kind of keep my creativity at its highest potential.
Right. And so you're working with Truss, so which is paint. They've got obviously their clays and their paints and their pre-lighteners, and that works obviously very well for you, and their treatments. And and then the balayage story. I mean, had you entered one shot before?
Yeah, that was this 3 times. 3 years.
3 times.
I entered. Cool. Yeah. So I've gone to every show, I think, for the last 3 years that they have, even on tour and stuff.
All the shows except the London one, because I didn't meet you in London.
I've never left the US. So that's yeah, for the last 3 years I've been to every one shot, and I've been to a few on tours. Right.
It's really cool. I watched, of course, I was with you. I was on the same row as you the night of your big win. And you were like, no, nothing's going to happen. No, like this. And we were just like, we seemed to be surrounded by people that were winning every minute. And you're like, no. And then the next minute, your name got called up and there you were, boom, winner, cool balayage. How did that feel?
So I didn't even vote for myself during the whole voting thing. I voted
know you
for
could.
My friend. Yeah, you could vote, but I voted for my friends, you know? So I was filming because I thought maybe, you know, one of my friends was going to win. And then they announced the top 5 and I was like, oh my God, what is happening right now?
Right.
And Kate and I, we were freaking out. And then, yeah, they called my name and I feel like I could cry thinking about it. I honestly, I think I blacked out. Like, so you saw me. I mean, it was so cool to have you there. It really was. Our row was just, everybody in that row was awesome. I'm so glad I got to share that with everybody because everybody in our row is so talented and just humble. And, but I blacked out for sure. And I mean, some people prepare a speech. I didn't think I had a 1% chance. Like there was, in my mind, there was no chance at all. And that's why I think I freaked out.
I loved it because you were just like, kind of like, you were actually, it was a little bit of a blackout. I'm just looking at the picture here for the nomination. I mean, it's really, really pretty because you've got all those lovely sort of taupey browns and then it goes into these really cools. Was that freehand or was that foilage?
A mix of both. Actually, yeah. I do a lot of my work in a foil, and then I'll paint a lot like at the sink to really brighten up her ends. And she's been my client for a really long time, so I was so happy that I could share that win with her because she has been literal angel. She's sent me so many clients and she's always down for me to do whatever I want. And she's a dream client, I like to say.
Right.
But yeah, I do a mix of foil and hand painting.
I noticed that a lot about the US market. There's a lot of foilage and then this tipping, it's called tipping out here, I think, where people are painting out the ends. And it seems to be an awful lot of it in the US. And it gets the results that the clients want.
Yeah, I like to use foils. I think I'm not a great painter, I'll be honest. I don't know how to navigate freehand painting, which I probably should. I'd love to take some classes on it. But for me with a foil, I feel like I have more control. I get a very, very even, most of the time, lift. And I can create a balayage look by using a foil.
Right.
But And I do my tip outs with foils also, but I'll paint like kind of like how you paint, but I'll paint when the hair is wet in the sink with them laying back, like a wet balayage, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. That's about as creative I'll get with painting.
No, I mean, it's beautiful. It's results driven, right? The industry is results driven, and I think there's more than one way to do something. I just noticed there's a lot of really beautiful, well thought out foil work in the US market, and you do that, which I think is superb. How did you? I know that you went on lots and lots of classes, and you talked about that, but then you've got this. You've definitely got a look. I virtually know when you're posting, when it's you. You've created this look. How long did that take you to get that?
12 years.
12 years. 12 years and counting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know. I think I mean, I work on mannequins. I tried new placements, and I'm just always trying something new, and like going back to like trying to do something a little different. I like that you just said that, you know, it's my work. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to blend in on the hair feed. I want to be a little bit different, you know. But it's taken me my whole career.
And there's so much more of a career to go. So what's next for you? Where do you want to go next? Do you know, or are you just kind of waiting to see how it happens?
I get asked that so much, and Caitlin, she goes, "You made it to the top, now what?" Which I don't think that, you know, I'm still trying to climb that mountain. I just started educating, and that's been amazing. It's so fulfilling. I just never even knew that it could fuel me like that, you know? So I'd love to continue to educate, do more classes. I'd love to travel. But I'm just going to kind of ride the wave. I'm not sure. I'm going to continue to do the best I can to provide, you know, a great experience for my clients, and hopefully win another one-shot hair award.
Yeah, win another award.
I would love that.
We were talking about, I was talking with another guest, and we were talking about the fact that you get to a point and then you think that maybe that's there, but then you look up and there's another point to get to. And it's a continual journey, and like you say, riding the waves, you know, with the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to thank you, Kate, for coming on today and sharing part of your journey. Congratulations on your BTC win. That is absolutely amazing for your cool balayage this year. And of course, you've got to keep doing that, right, to re-enter and re-win and all those things. And really lovely to hear your perspective on the industry about your work-life balance and how you've managed that for yourself. I think it's a really, really nice story. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This has been really cool. You're the best. You're such an inspiration to me, and I'm so honored. Stop it. Oh, no, I'm really, when I got chatting to you at BTC, I'm like, yeah, you've got to come on. I've got to have you on and talk to you more about your career so far, because I just think you're really interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Hey, evolve or remain, right? So this is... I love that. Evolve or remain. So this is me evolving. So thank you for contributing to that. Yeah, thanks so much.